Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Level 30 Games Podcast. My name is Tom, and I'm joined here today by Level 30 Podcast regulars. We can say that officially now. Joseph and Ada. Joe, how are we today?
I'm okay, here.
Living the dream?
Yeah, totally. That's pretty much what
Living the
everybody says.
nightmare? Ada, how are we doing today?
I'm surviving. It's chaotic.
Yes.
Doing this whole hybrid thing.
It sure is. To all our teacher friends out there, if you don't know, or if you're new to the Level 30 family, Ada, Joe, and I all work inside of a school district. Joe in the tech department, network department, and Ada and I as teachers, and it's a bloodbath every day, challenging. So we're happy to be here today and bring you an episode. I'm hoping that we have interesting things to say and talk about, because we're all kind of burnt out at the same time as well. So if you are in a state or a school district yourself, or you have kids that are at school and you're dealing with either a hybrid model or full-on virtual, we feel your pain.
Yes.
And can empathize a bunch, and I promise that teachers everywhere are doing their best. So there's my little PSA in regards to that. Let's get into some games and stuff, because that's why we're here, I hope. Man, I feel like it's been a long time since we've sat down together and did a podcast.
It's been since, as you said, July.
It's been since July, and I feel like there's been a lot of news, but at the same time, no news. So I feel like I'd be remiss if you don't see the video portion of this podcast. Our set's kind of decked out with some Mario goodness. We are in the Mario anniversary, 35th anniversary, which makes me feel really old, because I realize I have the same birthday as Mario. But that means we're gonna grow old together.
I did not know that.
Well, not same birth year. I mean, we're both 35. I don't know when Mario came out. No one knows when Mario came out, for that matter.
Wasn't there
Why don't we ask him?
an Atari version that had him out?
Blasphemy on this podcast. Never. No, there was no
Ow.
Atari version of Mario.
Well, there was an early rendition of him on some platform, or it was a video game that was
As a
put out.
character, he existed.
We
You
saw it
know
on
that.
High Score.
High Score, for those not in the know, Netflix documentary special on video
It's
game culture.
Awesome. Go watch it.
Yeah, it's pretty good. But I don't recall this, because I would have been on the floor shocked if they were like, Mario, that guy from Atari.
Oh my gosh.
And the feuding begins. Well, it is his 35th anniversary, and so because of that, we get a pretty cool 35th anniversary game. Super Mario 3D World joins the Switch lineup of games and includes such hits as Mario 64, Mario Sunshine, and Super Mario Galaxy. And I know we've talked about these games in the past. I would love to hear from you folks, just briefly. I know we probably talked about our favorites earlier. Which one are you excited to get back into? Which one have you played so far? Or if you got which one did you go to first? Joe, I know you're hot to trot about one of these in particular.
First of all, apparently I'm a folk now. I think I've brought it up before, just Mario Sunshine, because it's like the forgotten Mario game, or the forgotten 3D Mario game that I don't know, nobody really talks about Mario Sunshine. I know a whole bunch of my friends are they talk about the game and they're excited about it, and Delfino Plaza has some of the greatest music.
Oh my God, yeah,
It's
the
so
Delfino Plaza theme is my favorite.
Right? But nobody knows what game it's from. You play it in Mario Kart.
It's a
nobody knows what
Smash
it's from.
stage, and that's all that matters.
Okay, a lot of characters that nobody knows. Oh, they're from Smash. But anyway, I'm excited for Sunshine. Even if it were not that great of a game, I'd be excited to play it, because it hasn't been re-released before. It came out to very little fanfare and then was forgotten about. So it'd be nice to revisit it with hopefully non-awful controls.
Well, I can't guarantee that the controls aren't awful. Ada, is there a game here you're excited for, looking forward to?
I wish I could say that there was.
All right, well then.
Sadly, we couldn't afford those systems growing up, so I stopped at the Super Nintendo until the Wii came out.
Okay, but then all the more reason to say
Yes.
you've played none of these games.
I would be going into it with a completely fresh take.
So which one looks the most appealing to you that you think you would jump into first?
I would have to say Mario Sunshine.
Really?
Looks the most appealing, yes.
Surprising to hear you
Why
say
do you say
that.
that?
Well, I feel like as far as the evolution of Mario goes, it's a game built on just the slickest, most well thought out and meticulously crafted controls. That character controls better, I think, than any character has ever controlled in a video game. And Joe's giving me a face. I can't tell if he's disagreeing or agreeing with me.
He might be agreeing.
I'm just I'm taking it in.
Okay, okay.
I don't agree, but I'm not going to argue with your.
Oh, I want you to argue in a sec, but I'll get through my thought. I jumped back in with Mario 64 as it was the one that I had actually been teetering on tracking down a copy of the original cartridge for my Nintendo 64, and I was like, I'll just wait. And man, that game is hard as heck and very unforgiving and punishing as it comes. Like even the controls themselves, I'm like, I don't remember being this bad at this game. I ran through 20 stars, no problem. And then it was, okay, I got to slow down. I can't just like breeze through some of these levels. So I know from a technical standpoint and a level of polish standpoint, I figured Galaxy would have been a good one to start because that game is awesome.
All right, well then that's where I'll take it.
So I think you should check that out.
I think Galaxy was a good game, but maybe I hate the controls on all games because I actually think Galaxy's controls were worse than Sunshine's. And like I remember playing the original Galaxy and just trying to run around planets and like you run straight and then all of a sudden you're turning around and running back around. But because some of the planets were like, I don't know, the size of Mario's shoes.
Right, yeah,
they
really
weren't
tiny.
that big. So it's hard to run around them. It just kind of like throws off your perception and maybe that's the problem. But because it was like legitimately 3D and there was no actual concept of up and down and left and right, trying to run around sometimes was confusing. And it wasn't so difficult on like normal stages, but boss fights were really difficult because of that. But also, if you've ever played Sonic Adventure 2 Battle, you can get through that.
You can get through anything if you play that game.
Yeah, but if you've tried to do the any of the stages where you play as Rouge or Knuckles and you have to like dig up the gems, it's impossible. Like you just the same thing. You're running straight and all of a sudden you're running sideways and you never move with the joystick.
Yeah, and there's a few games where, of course, like you're moving a character in a certain direction, and then something triggers the camera to shift, whether you do it intentionally or it's like a cutscene, and like you're hitting right, but your character, because of the like, is going in the other like I don't know how to explain this, but I think you're right with the planets. Like you run around holding up. And at some point, you're like, well, wouldn't I have to hit down to go the other way? But it can be a little disorienting.
It depends on what plane, I guess, they're basing the controls off of. Whether they're doing it, based off of your character's orientation or the camera's orientation. And sometimes what they'll do is they'll base it off the cameras, but the controls won't change until you let go. So if you hold forward, you'll keep moving forward. But if you let go and press forward again, you'll go a different direction.
Right. Interesting. I wonder, do you think the Wiimote and Nunchuck had any bearing on whether you enjoyed that from a control standpoint?
I think so. I think that moving it to Switch, where there's less reliance on motion controls and just an odd-shaped controller setup in general, I think it'll be better on the Switch. It'll be a lot easier to handle.
I hope so. Mike, friend of the show, you may see him in our episodes of Press Start, has already been kind of vocal in saying how much he hates some of the controls there because if you remember, you had the Wii pointer that you would need to like kind of move around the screen and pick up the star bits and stuff, and then you can fire them. That's all done with the gyro controls in the Pro Controller now. And so he's saying it's really irritating when you're flying through space and you constantly have to kind of do this. But for those of you that don't know Mike or haven't watched Press Start, he's also not very quick to pick up on some of those control schemes or patterns very quickly, and he's very set in his ways. So maybe he's not a fan there.
While you're right, he's also, I've never met anybody better at like the older games.
Yeah.
He's really talented.
Insanely talented.
Yeah,
older
just
games.
on any like NES, SNES game, like he will demolish you. And it's funny because you'll watch him play and you'll go, he's not that good. Like he's getting beat up. And then you'll play him and you're like, no, maybe I'm worse than I thought because he'll wreck you. Like just
I get very
completely
frustrated
demoralized.
playing with him sometimes because he'll just be like, where did I go? We did this 12 times. Like, just follow the path to the castle. Oh, what's this way? The Zelda 2 episode we did at Press Start's really funny because Mike just doesn't pay attention in between stuff. So, like, it's bad. But it's also then really funny. So my question for you guys, as far as this collection goes, do you feel this is an adequate effort from Nintendo as far as like a celebratory video game package? And of course, the direct comparison would be is when they did the 25th anniversary and they repackaged Mario 1, 2, 3 and the Lost Levels for the Wii, and it came in that really nice case with the slip, and there may have been like a coin or something with it or a soundtrack included. And this is, while it does have the digital soundtrack on the main menu, I'm not going to turn on my Switch to listen to music. Do you feel like this is like a half-assed kind of effort? Like, what are your what were your expectations of something like this? And do they get a pass for one, the year we're having, and two, Nintendo has a pretty good track record of doing interesting or impressive things with these, and this just might have been a misstep. It just so happened to feature like the most well-known character in video game history.
I think we got what we wanted. I mean just like as fans in general of Mario, I think we got what we wanted, but maybe not what we deserved, I guess. I think the collection of
Well
games is
said.
good. I think collection of games is very good. Those three
Even without
games-
any like intense touch-ups. I mean, they tweaked some things as far as the aspect ratio, and I think they smoothed over some stuff in 64. But these are like pretty, all things considered, low effort ports.
Yeah, I think, and that's the problem. You know, I think the games still hold up. At least Sunshine and Galaxy still hold up, like in modern times. Like they're still good games that you can go back to and play right now. My biggest gripe, and I haven't played the collection myself, so I don't know if they don't run well or how they work. But my biggest gripe is the fact that they couldn't get Mario 64 to 16:9. Like there's no reason why Mario 64 could not be in widescreen resolution. And I think there's a fan port that actually does that. Like
yeah,
it's
on the
better
PC.
graphics.
Yeah,
and-
it looks pretty.
But my other complaint too is I think in handheld mode it only runs at 720p. Like all three games, I think.
That could be.
And that sounds silly to me. Like the games are pretty they're pretty modest as far as specs go. Like if the Wii and the GameCube could run these, why couldn't they run at 1080? And I'm sure it's a battery issue more than a power issue. Like specifications wise, like you probably could only get, maybe like 2 or 3 hours out of it, but probably even less than that because I think Zelda gets you like 3 hours and that's a pretty beefy game.
So.
But I don't know, handheld mode, we shouldn't be getting 720p.
So I think it has more to do with them actually not putting in the effort to rework some of the game code. There are some things in playing Mario 64 where like, all right, your character turns the other way and the camera will shift, and you're getting pop in of objects that are like almost right next to you.
Mm-hmm.
And so even if you get to like a high elevated area and you look out, there are parts where you go, oh, okay, I can see like the red coins, but maybe not what they're floating on or what they're a part of. Like I think they were very keen to say, oh, you're doing the 8 coin star or 8 red coin star, go get them. You can see them from different vantage points, but you can't see everything. And so I'm wondering if it just meant going 16:9 meant what they couldn't get the game to run well without doing a complete overhaul of things, because then there would be too many things on screen at once. And 64 was built very smartly with utilizing that memory, and I think they just didn't want to redo things.
Which is a shame coming from Nintendo and their, not even arguably, like their absolute largest IP. Like
Right. And that's why I thought, and I put it in our rundown because I thought and I'll give credit to the Forbes headline for the review of this game said, a good collection, but no stars for effort. And I think that sums up my feelings on it. Like, I'm glad I have these games. I'm not bitter about it. I'm not bitter about paying $60 for it, as a lot of people are. But it is what it is. And it's, I think it's worth revisiting, even in its semi-under enthusiastic state.
fair. I mean, do you think $60 was a fair price for it?
I think I pre-ordered immediately after that direct as soon as possible. I didn't bat an
Gotcha.
eyelash. So like, all right, that's $20 a game, and these games are pretty beefy, and I'd say that's worthwhile.
Ada, being games that you haven't played before, would you pay $60 for them, knowing that they're older games?
Yes,
But again,
I
you
think
haven't
I
played
would
them.
just because I have access to all of the others on my Switch. So to kind of like round out the collection, I think would be my best way like of explaining why I would even justify a purchase like that. As to go off of your original question, I do think the effort was lacking, but I think that they were trying to give the fans what they wanted, and that was to, bring 3 more games into this, and back out of the vault, so to speak. And obviously they were listening to our podcast and what you had to say about Mario Sunshine, so of course they had to
All the
release
times
it.
I brought it up.
I can't help
Right.
but be a little naive in thinking that there's something greater coming like through the pipes, that they're putting this out. Yes, they're acknowledging the 35th anniversary, but there's something bigger coming. And
Yeah,
that's where their ducks are.
I would hope so. I mean, there's already some rumors circulating that Galaxy 2 is going to be a DLC option for this next year, which would be great because that's a fantastic game. That game is almost better than the first one. I would say it slightly edges it out in my book. So I don't know. I really do feel part of it is that just between the shutdowns and COVID and all this stuff, I really think it just didn't become a priority. And I think IGN put together like, oh, here's a timeline of stuff that would have happened had we not had all that shutdown. And like, I think this was all planned like to come out months ago, like almost pre or around E3. And
They couldn't.
I think
obviously.
E3 was going to be just all a giant celebration of Mario, and they had to scrap it. Now I'll throw this question at both of you guys. Next year is the 35th anniversary of The Legend of Zelda, and so is there a collection of games that you would want to see there? So if you had to pick 3 Zelda games to get on this platform in a meaningful way, what are we missing, and what would you like to see? You know what? Don't even say 3, because I know that there's only 3 that really would make sense to come. If you had to pick one of those, what would it be? What's your hope for a 35th anniversary Zelda collection look like?
Oh, I'm going first.
I guess.
I came up with 3 like immediately. I mean, it's Wind Waker. Wind Waker already got released, like re-released, but I will play that game like every other week till the day I die. The last time I played it, like I ran through the entire game. I did it in like 2 or 3 days. I didn't die once. Like I just marathoned the game.
Good for you.
Like
That's
I've
I love that
played
game.
it. Like I've played it before too. Like I've played it before recently, and I hadn't played it in a little while. And I just went through the game and then finished it. And it was like, but I want to play it again. Like it's so
But that's
good.
That's the great thing about a video game, like that sustainability that you want to go back and play it again after beating it.
Yeah, absolutely. It's like any TV show or movie or book that like you get to the end, you're like, I just want more of it. Wind Waker's the same way. Like it's really clever, it's really cute, it's well done. It doesn't overstay its welcome by any means, and it's not really difficult like a lot of the earlier Zelda games, or maybe I was just young when I was playing them. So I would really like to see Wind Waker. I wouldn't be surprised if we did. I think we're more likely to see Twilight Princess though. A re-release of that. I know a lot of people don't like it. I still think we're more likely to see it.
Yeah.
I want to see Ages and Seasons more than anything else, though, honestly. It's been a really long time since I've played them, and they were also a lot of fun.
And I think that would be a great, hey, here's Ages and Seasons, and we're going to use the brand new Link's Awakening game engine. Sorry, I had this poster over there. We're going to use that same game engine and redo those games.
And just put them in a bundle because they're not large games. So you can put them together on one cartridge or one download, whatever. Give them to me, and I don't care what the full price is. I'll pay it.
What if they give you the long lost third game that was supposed to come out that they end up scrapping?
Was that Zelda Yellow?
Yeah, pretty much. It was the yellow version.
I mean, yeah, whatever. Just here's my paycheck.
Give it
just
to
take
you.
it. I'll play it.
Ada, any thoughts on?
I have such limited exposure to Zelda.
How do we know each other?
I game. I just don't play all the same games as you guys.
That's fair.
So the only one that I played, and it was for a very small amount of time on the NES, was the original one. That's really it, and that's back when Palmer Video was open, and you could rent video games for them for 5 days. And I remember my dad would just go and be like, "All right, well, this looked cool. You're gonna try this one this week." And I was like, "Okay." And I remember playing it for that week and going, "All right, I'm done with this, and I never want to see it again," kind of thing. I mean,
That's
I
a
wouldn't
fair
mind.
assessment.
That is
I
at that age, absolutely. That game
Yeah.
is so obtuse.
I wouldn't mind revisiting it now, but again, it's available.
Even now, I think it
No,
would be
I wouldn't do
challenging.
it.
I mean, heck, when I was revisiting Link's Awakening, I was like, I'm gonna have to look this up. I don't know. Like, that was a game I played in the Game Boy and still had to guide my way through.
Yeah.
I had to go back. I'm hoping that I can do it at some point without any issue. But
It's I think that one's a little bit more straightforward than some of the other Zelda games, but it's still not like there are a few points where even now I was like, I have no idea where to go next. I just kind of talked to everybody and went everywhere and called that guy in at the phone booth like over and over until he gave me a different spiel and told me where to go. But yeah, it's like most of the game is straightforward, but there's a couple like hard cuts where you have no idea where to go.
right. So I'm going to say for my wish, and man, I feel like this can go 1,000 different ways. I would love to see like a full like grown up hardcore edition of like Ocarina of Time. Like I think that'd be really cool. Just kind of reimagine that from the ground up, but keep the core game the same. I think Twilight Princess and Wind Waker, they've been talking about doing a combo of that forever, and those are Wii U games. So like those, I feel like would be such a drag and drop. Like let's bring those over, and they're there.
Yeah.
But I would love them to see do something with like a remaster of Skyward Sword as well. That game gets a lot of flack for
The controls.
being a little drawn out in parts, and I agree it is. But I thought the story was one of the better Zelda stories in a very long time. So I would love to see that, because that's also a game that's kind of locked on one platform right now. And I know there are VC versions of the Oracles and Ages game, so they were out there, but Skyward Sword's been Wii, and that's been about it. So I would like to see that one come over myself.
I know both of us though, and I know that they could give us like a 2 frame per second stick figure holding a sword and sell it for $60, and we're both gonna buy it.
Yeah.
I'd buy
I think that's
2.
pretty safe to say.
One to put on the shelf unopened, and then one to lick.
Pre-order the amiibo.
Well, you got to pre-order the amiibo. It's just an empty stick of nothing, and they're saying coming soon Zelda. Pre-ordered.
Just
Done.
like a pencil.
Yeah.
You draw it yourself.
Ooh, custom amiibo. I like it.
Some plastic and an RFID tag.
You scan it and just
Yeah.
you get question mark blocks. So a few other things came out of the 35th anniversary. We're getting a remake, a Game & Watch, which will contain the first Super Mario Brothers game. That's a very much a collector's thing.
That was so unappealing to me.
I was like, $50, sure. Like because it's like a hardware component. You get the game that'll play once and go, this is novel, and then it'll sit
It's an alarm
somewhere.
clock.
Yeah, I'm not going to use that as an alarm clock. I think the battery lasts for like 3 hours. How does it alarm?
You plug it in.
No,
Totally
never.
unappealing for me.
Um,
Like I could see that sitting in like your man cave or something.
It's going to with the box. It's going to look all pretty. It's going to be good.
It'll sit there for a couple months, and then it'll end up on your desk here.
Probably. That
Yeah.
could work too. There's going to be a Mario 35, which is akin to Tetris 99. So it's a battle royale style of Mario,
I loved this.
which looked
Really
kind of
is
cool.
I liked it.
It just looks like chaos. What appealed? What was appealing to you about
sheer
it?
chaos of it, like seeing how quick you can, like, because I'm a very competitive person, so sitting there and competing with somebody on the other side of the world, trying to see if I could get a quicker time or more points, or finish the level faster from this person. I just thought it was fantastic. Like, give it to me now, please.
Yeah, and that's going to be a free download for Nintendo Switch Online users. So that's going to be something where we can try it out, and if we hate it, no money
Right.
spent. So
Yeah.
that's good. And the last weird one we'll just touch upon quickly is that there is a augmented reality game.
Oh my God.
That is borrowing the Mario Kart franchise to put RC cars in your home with cameras that you can drive around your custom-made Mario Kart tracks and race other people. I thought this was really cool. This was just one of those Nintendo being Nintendo things that like kind of came out of left field, and you look at it and go, why has this never been done before? And it just seemed to fit their IP and their brand so well. And on that note, I said, I'm not going to get this.
I was just about to say almost the same thing. Have you ever been outrageously excited for something, but you just never buy it? I know, like, before it's released, this is
check
me.
episode 4 where Joe and I go off about the Switch Lite and how we're going to buy each color and then proceed to buy none of them.
That is
That's
absolutely
not
what
quite
happened.
true. There is a Switch Lite in your house.
Yes, but
This
it's
is
not
true.
mine. It
It's-
also hasn't been turned on.
Okay,
in
I
months,
have
but-
to weigh in on this.
Sure, please.
I have to weigh in on this. Okay, so initially I watched it and my thought was, aw, that's so cute. And I never want to have that reaction to a video game ever.
Why?
Even about
There's
Animal
so many
Crossing.
cute video games
no,
out
but
there.
not like this. Like it came off very juvenile to me. Like,
Okay.
Like targeted to kids, which is fine. There's
You ever
nothing.
played Mario Kart? There's nothing not juvenile about
No,
Mario
no.
Kart.
But
you're
like
throwing
the
banana
whole
peels and
RC
dodging
car,
cows.
Setting it
It's-
up, like it reminded me of breaking out my Hot Wheels tracks as a kid. You know, the other thing I immediately thought of was the dog. Charlotte is going to attack this thing, and I'm not going to be able to play this in my house. Like I have space in my house that I could easily set this up and make a really cool track. But then I'm thinking the dog is not going to let me do this because she's going to go running after the vehicle.
Just blue sheller.
Yeah, that's all you got to do. It's just, yeah.
The other thing was I was disappointed that it was only Mario and Luigi. Like, what if I want Rosalina? Like, release a Rosalina car.
Sucks.
I
I think
you
they
joke,
weren't going to put that
but
much into it.
Right, but
I think they're treading the waters, but I do think to some degree, and I'm sure there's a marketing reason for this, and it's probably awful, but having like put Peach out there, Mario and Peach, right? And I think you when you gender lock it like that, I think there are probably like little girls out there. They're like, this is really cool, but I don't want to like. Listen, no one wants to play as Luigi, so you're already going to fight over player 2.
Whoa.
Okay, sorry to the hardcore Luigi fan base out there, and you know who you are, and you wear it with pride, and that's great.
I grew up player 2, so.
Okay, well, I was the older brother. I was never player 2. I think a Peach version of this would have sold gangbusters, because I'm sure there are people that were like, well, Mario's sold out, I guess I have to get Luigi, because otherwise, I
right. I think they could have done okay with not even like going to 4. Do 4 cars. Give the option for 4 different vehicles, and if you have 4 kids, like they're gonna all want to play. You can't play 2.
No, I don't know the tech limitations behind this. I don't know if it's like 4 cars just is not compatible. Right, if they
which is absolutely fine. I'm thinking bigger, and my head immediately went to this is targeted for little kids. I just hoped it would have been kind of marketed a little bit better, and that there would have been a little bit more of an exclusivity. Inclusivity. Sorry.
At least, wow. At least a Toad.
Yeah,
Like,
I like
at
playing
least-
Toad.
Toad is probably the most ambiguously gendered character in
Which is
the
fine.
Mario
There's
universe.
nothing
No,
wrong
that's
with
actually
that.
not true now, because there's Toadette. So how can you say that, like,
That's a good point.
right? Because now the Toad is like, they're the Smurf equivalent in the Nintendo world, right? There's all these Smurfs, and then there's Smurfette. So apparently in Mushroom Kingdom, there's just a whole bunch of Toad dudes running around, and there's one Lady Toad. And that doesn't seem fair.
I don't like where this is going.
We won't go any further. But you know what? I am a fan of Toadette. Toadette's awesome. And Rosalina. I
I
think, yeah.
Don't like Toad or Toadette. I do
Go
like
home.
Captain Toad.
Oh, Captain Toad's the man.
Toad's one of the cutest things I've ever seen. I'm
You're
in love with
absolutely
him.
right. So
But
like
Toad in the game, I can't stand.
I wouldn't necessarily drop the money on this, but if I were somewhere and we were doing a game night and this came up as a possibility of trying it, I wouldn't, not try it.
Yeah, I think that'd be cool. I think $100 buy-in per unit might be a little tough. Like if you want to play 2-player, there's $200.
Yeah.
And granted, I think you're getting a lot of tech. Like I don't think that's unwarranted to ask for. I
But
just think,
my pockets can't do that right now.
yeah, and I think I would buy 2 and they would sit for a
Right,
very
like
long
if
time.
it came between that game and another, like
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Unless
not
the
gonna
collector
be-
in me said, nope, get these because they might not be around forever and it's going to be a hard piece of hardware to track down. Who knows?
Also, think about being a kid and how many of your toys or games required like a setup. So you just didn't play them because I could take this and play it right away, or set up my house to play this and then play it for 5 minutes.
Joe, let me tell you the amount of times I played Mousetrap as a kid, and that was once because I didn't know how to set it up, and my parents were like, "Oh no, we don't. No, let's play like checkers. Like there's nothing. You
Yeah,
put
no,
circles on a
It
board."
didn't work like that in my house. Once it was set up, it was up for a couple of days, and you had to play with it for the couple of days, and then it was put away.
Because that game was
So, like-
and
obnoxious
then never to be
to set
touched
up.
again,
And
right?
then months and months would go by before like the Hot Wheels tracks were broken out again, and then you could take over the bedroom with it, but you were stuck playing with it for a couple days.
But how many parents are going to skip out now on $200 worth of, I'm not going to play this longer than 3 days, Like the first time somebody walks through the track and breaks it and knocks something over, like, I'm not going to play this anymore. It's something else came along. I know my childhood and maybe not everybody else was the same, which is fair, but anything that required accessories didn't get played after like the initial excitement over it.
Okay.
Well, you'd
fair
lose
enough.
part of it, right?
Yeah.
Like growing up, we had like a dozen Nerf weapons, but no
darts.
ammo.
Yeah.
Like it's, at some point you're like, well, we're gonna pretend this is a bow and arrow and shoot nothing.
I mean, I lost Luigi. Oh God.
Luigi, I don't want to make fun of Luigi. I do like Luigi, but if you had to choose, like gun to one of their heads, it's not Mario. I'm sorry, not for me.
Yeah, I guess so.
Sorry,
Sorry, Joe.
Sad player.
sorry,
choices.
Luigi fandom. Please let us know if you're a big Luigi guy. Yeah, we'll wrap that part up. There was a few things also announced since then. There was a partner direct, which was great, and there's a whole slew of games that came out. Just to run through real quick, there's 2 Monster Hunter games that were announced that actually look really good. Like I was very surprised. I've tried to get into the Monster Hunter series, and it was really tough for me because it's a lot of grinding, it's a lot of menu navigation and equipment upgrades and things like that, and hunting the same thing over and over to get like shells so you can build a helmet out of bug parts. And like I never really caught on to that series. I kind of wish I liked it more. But these look to be a little bit more story-oriented. New
No,
word.
I like that
called
word.
it.
Yeah.
And I think the appeal there for me is like there's more of a quest or journey here than just kind of arbitrarily fighting giant monsters, which is what Monster Hunter is really all about. I don't know if you guys saw these trailers and found these appealing at all, or have they ever gotten into that series in a meaningful way? But it looked really cool, so worth checking out if you
It would
haven't
be really
seen
cool if we could just cut to the trailer right now, but I know that doesn't happen.
Not live.
it. Not live.
We
So if you
could.
just saw a trailer, Nintendo, please send us some money.
I gotta say that I was more of a Monster Rancher guy growing up.
Wow, there's a throwback for
I
you.
love Monster Rancher. Suezo was great. Just
I
his
don't even know who
attitude.
Suezo
He's
is.
the giant eyeball.
Oh, that's on the
he was just-
cover?
Yeah, he was an eyeball and a tail, and he bounced around. He had an attitude.
That sounds about right.
But
Okay.
yeah, Suezo was cool. But anyway, I honestly I haven't played Monster Hunter, and I know a lot of people like I've heard mostly good things about it.
It's big. It's huge in Japan. Huge.
That said, it's never grabbed me because every trailer for that game has looked the same.
I mean, it is the same game essentially evolved. I mean, Monster Hunter World was a big overhaul to the series, where they changed it a little bit and for the better, for the most part. But I still think there are people that played that and go, "No, I like the old school style of it."
Mhm.
And this is a little bit more akin to that, but again, more story oriented. Those look cool. There's a new Disgaea coming out. If you're into that, Fitness Boxing 2 is going to try and capitalize or continue to capitalize on the quarantine wave or at home wave where you can do some fitness stuff. There's a demo for the first game if you haven't checked that out.
That looked interesting.
I tried it. It was okay. I've been very happy with my Ring Fit, but some people like this a lot. So
You could just hold joysticks and punch at your screen for free, though.
you could do that. Yeah, no, that's true. But you don't get the cool music that goes along with it. Actually, the songs were really bad on the first one, but I'm not a pop music guy. Your mileage may vary. Rune Factory 5 finally got its a trailer there in a meaningful way, and then the shadow drop for the day, which is a glorious, beautiful game, Ori and the Will of the Wisps, was released on Switch. We reviewed that here. Kevin reviewed it, scored it very high. Not that we have a score, but he gave it a glowing
He made up a
review.
score.
He enjoyed
12
it
out
very
of
much.
10. The sequel is just as good. It's give it a shot if you get a chance. Really good game. Which is an Xbox game, right?
Yes.
And now it's on the Switch. There's also some Xbox information in the news as they've been quite busy as of late,
They have.
snatching up studios and giving announcements in regards to new console prices. And we're kind of right at the cusp of a new console generation, which is always exciting. And for those of you that have been trying to snag systems at home, I hope you've had luck. It's been increasingly difficult despite the communication between these companies. But we got PlayStation 5 and Xbox on the horizon in November. So I figured we'd be remiss if we didn't talk about them just on the realistic possibility that we don't have a podcast between now and then.
I don't
A
have
to say no.
I don't have a dog in this fight because I am like down to my core a Nintendo girl. So there will be an Xbox that's going to live in my house that I probably will never play. And that'll be used by other members of my household. But like I have no interest. Like I was before, in prepping for this, I was thinking about like, we did have a PlayStation in the house that belonged to my brother, and the only thing I played on it was Spice World. Yes, I
Which,
played Spice World.
As we all know, is a classic, one of the greatest video games ever made.
No, it's not. It's
Based on one of the
terrible.
greatest movies ever made. Based on one of the greatest group of authentic musicians
Oh,
my
ever
God.
Lord.
on the earth. I was just trying to make Joe like curdle in his body.
Well, I figured just saying it was going to make him
You're just gonna
like,
rip the Band-Aid off and
Yeah.
get it out there that
Yeah.
Spice
Like-
World was.
I know the band. I've played the game. I've seen the movie.
You've played the game.
Yeah, my
You did
sisters
play it.
owned it.
Oh, we're getting a Let's Play. We're doing a press start episode where
Oh my
you two
goodness.
play Spice World. We're gonna hand over the
No,
reins,
I
Mike
knew,
and
like,
I.
all the special like codes to make the other costumes happen and the other
there's
dance
costume
moves and
changes.
stuff.
She's beyond me.
Oh my
Yeah.
god, I knew all
It's
that
happening.
stuff. But like,
Stay
that
tuned to
was-
Press Start for an episode of Spice World
We're not
featuring Ada and Joe.
It's called press start because we press pause and leave.
Yeah, maybe.
Nope, that's not how it works.
So I really, like I said, I don't have a dog in this.
But that's okay
in this
because
fight.
you have the outsider's perspective, someone who might not be on the cusp of all the news or the back and forth between
Right.
groups of fanboys and girls where they're like it's been relatively toxic in the communities, unfortunately.
As it is.
Joe, do you have any info on like hardware that you want to fill us in on? Like what's the big evolutional leap here that we should really be looking forward to?
I don't think there's been any big announcements further than what we talked about. Not the last podcast, but I think like the last podcast that we really spoke about the new console generation. There hasn't been any big updates, but the big thing that they're pushing is like we're all solid state this time, so like loading screens are going to be almost non-existent. You're going to have giant open worlds. Games are going to load really quick, and storage is going to be stupid expensive. I think the 1 terabyte expansion card for the Xbox is $220.
Yeah, I saw
And it's
that.
made by Seagate, which is Seagate's not a bad company, but they're not good for the level that they're at. But realistically, I mean
But it's a proprietary drive, right?
yeah.
Hmm.
Which, although if you go by the price per gigabyte for that kind of drive, because inside it's just like an NVMe solid state drive, it's actually not that crazy. Like the price isn't that crazy. The problem is nobody's making them except for Seagate making it for Microsoft.
Right.
There's no cheaper option. It's basically you spend $220 or you constantly rotate what's on your hard drive and re-download the stuff. Like you're kind of screwed there until somebody starts putting out cheaper ones. And I'm back and forth on the proprietary argument because there's ups and downs to it, because you can say, well, now nobody else can make the drive without the licensing, but the reason they make a proprietary one is because it's better than the standards that are available now.
Okay, that's
So-
fair. I mean, especially in the face of Sony, who historically is like the king of proprietary accessories. Jesus. Oh, you want a simple AV cable? Nope. You have a Sony camcorder? Sorry, you got the special one. And of course, the prices were through the roof. Ask anybody that had a PSP and needed a memory stick. It's just astronomically expensive versus the storage space you got.
Yeah.
So I understand that, wanting to protect the integrity and quality of the product. But like I saw a tweet the other day, someone's like, well, $220, I just might buy, I'll see if I can buy like an Xbox Series S, right, which is the lesser of the two models, at $300 and just see if I can find a way to use that as external storage space and rig it up somehow. Because it's really not that much cheaper than a system.
It's really not. I mean, honestly, if they let you just force you to use a USB 3.0 or 3.1 hard drive, then it's still expensive, but it's not quite as bad. But give me the option to use what I want,
Right.
to spend a little less on a drive that might not be as quick, or use a leftover drive that I have or something like that. Like I have, USB Type-C external hard drives that I can use and plug in. I have a ton of flash drives and stuff like that I could use. Let me do that rather than forcing me to spend $220 on a drive with a proprietary connection. Let me take something off the shelf.
So what I think I find interesting about this take, because it's very unlike Microsoft to do. Like I used to joke with friends like, oh, well, like Microsoft Windows is like the Honda of like computers and operating systems. Anything will work in it. You can get it to be compatible, right? But this is almost like a very Apple-esque type move. Like, oh, you can buy a $5 lightning cable to charge your phone at 7-Eleven. But if you buy ours in the store, it's going to be $30. And the real difference is really, it's going to do the same thing, of course, but Apple's going to sell you that, hey, this is going to, like, the quality's there, the build is there, right? When your $5 one breaks, and I'm maybe using a bad example, but like, it's designed to work with them specifically.
Yeah.
It's tested more thoroughly. You're paying for quality. This is why we're going to rationalize it and justify it. So like, I feel like it's an interesting move on their part to do that.
It's not that far off from Microsoft, though, because the 360 had the memory cards that were a proprietary connector. Early in the lifespan, they did.
Yeah, but that's only because, wait, did they have a unit that didn't have a hard drive? I thought every unit had a built-in hard drive.
They had the hard drive like expansion piece that you could like click on and off, which was just a standard like internal laptop hard drive in a shell with a proprietary connector.
Oh, I know the 360 has memory card slots, but I didn't even think they were needed right out of the gate.
They're not out of the gate. They're honestly, they were for game saves.
Huh. Oh,
Like
so you
a-
can take them to different systems and
Yeah,
stuff?
which
Okay.
once cloud saves came around, you didn't really
Right,
need
yeah, you
anymore.
don't need that anymore.
But yeah, they were, for a while I used to throw like my Borderlands save onto a memory card,
Yes, you would.
and you could throw your Borderlands save and your like your login, like your gamer tag, you can throw that onto a memory card, and then I would go to a friend's house, pop the memory card in, sign in as myself, get my game save, and then I could go home and continue my game and not have to, because the original solution for that was sign out at home, go to friend's house, sign in, and then like download the account, which was a hassle for some reason.
It
Of course it
was.
is.
And then play that way, and then sign out, go home and sign in. Then my other option was, once I got a memory card, was just leave everything on the memory card and just bring it back and forth with me.
That made sense.
So it didn't do a whole lot, but it was useful. But again, it was a proprietary connection for no reason. Like there's no reason why they couldn't just make it USB. But part of the reason probably was because you couldn't just plug it into any standard computer and take those save files off and copy them.
Right.
Which eventually they let you do it with a flash drive, which is exactly what I ended up doing when I switched to PC gaming. Copied my Borderlands save over, and from the gate had a level 50 character on Borderlands.
There you go. All right. So one of the big things they're pushing, talking about, you're right, hard drive space, speed of that hard drive.
Yeah.
They seem to be very keen on not having loading screens or very short ones at that. I think both systems have like an instant resume feature where you can actually pause a game, go to a different game, and then come back to that first game later, which is pretty impressive.
I think Microsoft said 5 games. I don't know
Okay.
how many Sony said. I'm pretty sure Microsoft said 5.
Sounds
I'd
cool.
be ecstatic with 2, to be honest. Like if I could switch
I usually
between-
bounce between 2 or 3, but like,
Yeah,
I don't know. Never in a way where I can't feel like I can save quit. Like I understand it's quicker, but
it depends on the game. Like in a game like Borderlands, you don't lose a lot of space, but if you're in the middle of the map, not near like a checkpoint, you're gonna go all the way back to the closest one. And there are times where I want to, like I just downloaded Tony Hawk, and sometimes I want to bounce back and forth between Borderlands, which is the disc in my console, and Tony Hawk, which is downloaded. So if I can swap between the two and not leave any space, not lose my game, that would be cool. Especially because some of the games take a long time to load. If I don't
I
have
suppose.
to wait
I
with
just-
that dancing claptrap, it would be great.
get in the habit of getting to a part where I go, okay, this is a good place to save because I can leave off knowing where I have to go next and not kind of go, wait, where did I? Like, even if I don't play it for a week, like I'm like, okay, I'm ready to go to the next mission because the marker's right there.
Yeah. I've been console streaming a lot, which might be why it makes a little more sense for me.
Okay, all right, using the xCloud.
Technically, no. But
Okay.
yes, it's the same thing. But I've been streaming, like on lunch, I'll bring my Xbox controller in and I'll stream whatever I'm playing to my phone. But occasionally, like I'll want to play Tony Hawk, but Borderlands is open. I'm like, well, I'm not going to spend the time saving, quitting, reloading the game. I'll just keep playing Borderlands
enough.
because it's
Right.
already there.
There.
So if I could switch between 2 games, that would be good enough
That
for
is
me.
actually really cool.
5 is awesome.
Yeah, I guess from a practicality standpoint, as someone who I doesn't bother me, like it's the same argument where people go, well, I'm all digital on the Switch, so I don't ever have to get up and put a cartridge in the system. Like, how far away from you that moving 10 feet is a pain in the butt that you would, like I feel like that argument to me doesn't make any sense, but I'm not that kind of person, I guess.
But
So,
you also need to have the item.
well, I like having the tangible. Yes, I do.
Like I don't mind the downloads. That's fine with me. I don't need to have the game.
If it makes sense, I'll
You
download.
need to have the tangible.
Right? Like Animal Crossing, I download. A lot of the indie games I'll download, but I don't know.
Again, it depends on if they're games you want to jump in and
Right.
out of. Like, if I know I'm going to play this game because I just bought it and I'm going to play it for the next 3 or 4 weeks, I don't mind getting up to switch it. But if I'm going to play Super Smash Brothers, which I know I want to just play a game, scratch an itch, play it for 20 minutes, and then
Put
Bounce.
it away.
not play it again for 2 more weeks, I don't really want to get up and switch the game for something I'm going to only play for half an hour and then switch again afterwards.
Okay, all right. But again, I guess that's a personal preference thing.
Yeah, for sure.
So we know the hardware's coming out November 10th for Xbox. Sorry, 12th for, oh my God, 12th for the PlayStation, 15th for the Xbox. So they're right around the corner of each other. For $499 for their top end systems, $399 for the second tier PlayStation, and $299 for the Series S Xbox. And this is where things start to get a little muddled, because I think there's the communication between the companies and the public have been a little weird.
They were really fighting putting those prices out.
Oh, it was a game of chicken. It was like
Yeah.
whoever comes first, and then the other one will go shortly thereafter. So the PlayStation is a little bit more clear cut. There's $100 difference between their systems, but the difference is the optical disk drive. So you pay $100 more if you actually want to be able to put discs in your console, which I guess makes sense if you do like physical media or have like an extensive Blu-ray or 4K disc collection. That's your main hub for entertainment in the house. Totally makes sense. I would say is worth $100. I understand that. The Microsoft console is billed between two different systems in the same family of systems. So you have the Xbox Series X at $499. That's the top tier, like the big one. That's
Which
the
is
next
probably
gen.
going to be the one that lives in my house.
And then there's the Series S, which is technically in the same family of series systems, but doesn't have the same specs. And I don't want to sit here and go spec for spec because you can look that up. But there is a hardware difference between these two systems. Is this something akin to when the 360 and the PlayStation 3 came out with two SKUs, or even the Wii U for that matter, right? There was a white 8 gigabyte Wii U that eventually they're just like, no one's buying this. Will it go away? I don't know. Like, is it worth it for you to say I'm going to spend more money on the beefier hardware, or is it I'm going to save and get the less expensive one?
I think it depends on anybody's just the way they prefer to play their games. Like, I think there's gonna be a decent amount of people who go, I want those slightly better graphics or slightly faster loading speeds, and they're gonna spend the money for it because as time progresses, that money that they spent on it is worth less, if that makes any sense.
Yeah.
You know, like it's $100 or whatever difference. So I'm just gonna spend the extra $100 now to have a better console for the entire lifespan.
I totally agree with that. It's going to be the person that plays it more often, that appreciates the quickness, the graphic content and all that. So I think it's going to.
But does that story change given the generation we're coming from, where both Microsoft and Sony said, hey, after 2 years, here's our Pro system and here's our Xbox they're doing a Nintendo thing here where their naming convention is just awful.
Horrendous.
Which is why, I don't know if you saw this the other day, but sales of the Xbox One X, which is the Pro version of the current Xbox, sales were up on Amazon over 700%.
Oh, no,
and part of that
people.
could have been people were just like, oh my God, this is the new system, and they bought it,
It's
not
so
thinking.
cheap and it's for sale.
Right. Or scalpers that bots just pegged the wrong one. But either way, there is. I'm willing to wager that percentage goes down as people realize they bought the wrong thing and return it.
Yeah.
Do we think that, oh, okay, well, maybe that $500 now is worth it? But if they come out with a Xbox Series X.5 in 2 years, does that change your idea of value for this system? As someone who has an Xbox One S and a PS4 who didn't go to a Pro thinking what benefit am I getting here? That wasn't there for me.
If we're doing the mid-gen upgrade, like if it's a typical mid-generation upgrade like it always is, then I think absolutely the value changes.
It's not always, though. It only really happened in this like you'll get a redesign. But
Like-
typically that redesign is the same internal components in a different shell.
Like a new revision.
Right.
Kind of, yeah.
Hardware revision, but the hardware specs tend to stay the same.
Yeah, except for the Switch is basically the same thing, but like a slightly better battery. But that wasn't even that was hardly something they even advertised.
No,
It
they
was
really
more like,
didn't. It was
this is just
people
we're
found
making
out.
a modest change to the console and that's
Right.
it. I do think it changes the value though, but the people who are going for the high end one are more than likely are going to be one of two camps. They're going to be people who want the highest end one so that they have, again, the best console they can get for the generation. There's also those people who can't wait and want the best thing.
Yeah,
So
that's where I was going with
They're
that.
going to buy it and then they're going to sell it and buy the new one when it comes out.
Okay.
And-
That's typically what happens in my household. It's,
Yeah.
it's literally like, okay, this is the top end one. We're going to buy it now. We're going to play it until, the mid generation comes out. And then I'm just going to go into GameStop with this one and get the next one.
So knowing that you're not going to play it much, like, is it still going to get a lot of use in your house
Oh,
overall?
it's absolutely going to get
Okay.
a lot of use, hands down. It's just not going to be necessarily me playing it unless there's a game that jumps out at me that I'm going to want to play on that system.
So let's talk about the games for a second here, because I think when PlayStation came out swinging with early PS5 stuff, and then even closer to the announcement of the date and price, they were very much very game focused. Like, they were throwing a lot of stuff out there. And initially, my reaction was, damn, this is the system that has the games that I'm going to want to play. And I just felt that Microsoft was lacking that. And last generation, my Xbox One has not been used in a very long time. I think the last game I played on it was The Division 2, and that was because it came free with my system. I bought the system for Halo. I moved through Halo, and then there was very little reason for me to go back to that system. Since then, however, Microsoft's done a little bit of a 180 and said, no, there's going to be games. We're going to include them in this service called Game Pass. And day one, you're going to have 100 plus titles to download. And I'm wondering, Ada, if given the fact that this is now a service-driven console, you might be more inclined to say, oh, I don't have to pay really outside of a monthly fee, of course. Right. But you're not saying, oh, that game might be something I like. I don't want to spend $70 to find out, but I can download it and give it a shot. And if I love it, great, it's here. Do you think that will open you up to maybe trying more things?
That would absolutely open me up. I mean, to compare it to the Switch, like the Switch has the capability of going into the download store and downloading a preview of things. So having the opportunity to at least try part of a game out, yes, it's just a small version of it to try. I think that having the Game Pass would open my doors up to trying something that I wouldn't necessarily spend the money on. But if I have the subscription base to it, maybe.
Because I was on the fence at day one, like, ooh, all right, PlayStation's it. Like, this is the console I'll get first. And if something really exciting or enticing comes out on Xbox, I might be there, sure. And I found myself looking at PS5 pre-orders and saying, I'll wait, because there's nothing really exciting day one to play. Mm-hmm. And then Xbox said, okay, here's EA Access. Here's our Game Pass library. Here's an option to buy the console and the service monthly with 0% interest.
Yeah, I read that. That was pretty cool,
which is pretty cool. And I said, I kind of want to try and pre-order this. And I think there was something appealing to me, at least, of saying, okay, yeah, $500 system, that is a huge chunk of money. That's nothing to sneeze at. But then to know immediately that I can download games and play them without shelling out like additional money, that's huge. Like that is ginormous. Because figure if you get a PlayStation, you're going to need a game to go with it. So right away you're looking at an extra $70. That's a ton of money.
Yeah.
Right? Where for $15 a month, I can download more. And I'm not trying to hawk like this as go buy it because it sounds like a great value. But as a gamer, that sounds appealing. As a average consumer, I can't even imagine. Right? You get a system for your kids for the holiday. And right out of the box, you don't have to get any hardware and they can download what they want to. That's big for the average person.
Right. The versatility of trying whatever they want.
Right. And so Microsoft kind of flipped their script a little bit and then said, no, we got games. They're there. You just have to get this service. Now, we all live in a world now where we have a trillion services probably per month, that some of which we don't even think about anymore. And our credit card gets dinged $10 and we don't even bat an eyelash. Joe, as someone who does remote access style gaming, does this have value to you?
Honestly, yeah. Because you can play on almost any system. Like they're working it out with iOS now. It works on Android. It works well enough. It's pending your connection, like your home connection and wherever you are remotely. It's also still kind of it's early. Like it's new. It depends. It definitely works better than Stadia did at launch. I don't know how well Stadia works now, but Xbox definitely works better. It's not great for competitive play, but it's good for like I have half an hour or maybe even an hour to kill on the train. I want to play this game. It also means that, like you said, I don't know if I'm going to like this game. Let me jump in for 15 minutes and find out. And now I know. And if I don't like it, I didn't waste money on it. I didn't go out and buy it. I just downloaded it.
Right. I'd rather have an educated try at this, that I'm giving it the good old college try, that I'm trying the game, trying the system out. If I don't like it, then it's really no harm, no foul.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, Microsoft's learning, ignoring the $220 drive talk. They're learning that it's not as good to bleed your customers dry as it is to lock them in. Say like your you're in our ecosystem, so you're going to keep getting stuff from us rather than I'm going to try and get all of the money from you. And that's why you can get the Xbox with Game Pass with, 0% interest because they have enough money. They don't need the extra couple dollars they're going to make by charging you interest. They want to make sure it's as cheap as possible so that you buy it, you keep paying for it, you keep paying for the
keep
Game
coming
Pass.
back, right?
Yeah, you just stay with them, and then you get Game Pass, and then you go for the higher tier Game Pass that works on PC as well, so you can play it everywhere.
It's that customer acquisition. They're trying to lock in that customer forever.
Yeah, and
it's
working across all of their platforms.
It seems to be,
honestly.
yeah. They hedged their bets, it looks like, in the right sort of ecosystem, right? With that, that subscription model. We get them here, we keep them happy, and that's straight revenue for them. Now, I know on the back end they got to pay publishers and things for those games that come to that platform, but I mean, as a company, if you had, looking at Netflix as an example, like how much money they bring on a monthly basis just for offering streaming services, that's outrageous. People go, well, how do they give all these companies like millions of dollars to go do they spend billions of dollars a year in original content? They charge you $14 a month and they have like millions of subscribers. Do the math, right? They get monthly income for essentially acquiring shows and then maintaining a server, right? Like, I'm not saying that's easy, but we gloss over that fact. I think this is, it kind of makes me excited. The other side of me says, I'm terrified that when games go away, then they're gone, right?
Like physical games?
Yeah.
Or do you mean when they're taken off?
They'll take it off the service.
Oh, when they're
Well,
off
they
the
could take it off the service, sure. What if I'm in the middle of it? What if it's, this is an Xbox exclusive and they're going to put it on Game Pass, but 10 years from now, when they're doing Xbox One X, X1X, X10, X10, because that's the name the system's going to be, that game doesn't have availability anywhere because the only platform it's ever been on was on one system that doesn't exist. There's no physical entity of this, right? Like, there are people and collectors that, will rebuild an NES to play games they stumble across because they exist in physical form and they'll exist forever. I don't know. The historian in me goes, well, what if this stuff gets lost?
We won't get into this, but that's the reason why I don't stream music and I own all of my music. So that way I always have it. But that said, you're not wrong, and that's always a concern with anything streaming. When you don't own it, they can take it away from you at any time.
Right.
Even like as long as if you don't physically own it, like even if you buy it from iTunes, if it's only available in iTunes, then they can revoke it anytime you want.
It happened to me on Amazon. I purchased a movie on Amazon. It was in my library, and now I am no longer allowed to watch it.
You own the license, and that's it, and they can revoke that at any time.
And then as soon as Amazon doesn't have that license anymore, by association, you don't have that license anymore.
That's
a scary thought as a consumer.
There's an argument to be made too, though, that, and these aren't exactly like conflicting arguments, but you can say that because these are all digital, somebody else owns them, somebody else has them on the back end, and all they're doing is streaming to a console or a system. It means that they might be available in a way for longer, because now, like, I have my Xbox games that don't work on 360 because the backwards compatibility doesn't work. But if I'm streaming, it doesn't matter what system I'm on, as long as I have that streaming app, then I can play that game. And Microsoft can make it available on Xbox, Xbox 360, Xbox One, PC, Android, iOS, on anything, because essentially all they're doing is sending you a video feed and taking control commands back from you. It's a lot easier to make that game run on any system as opposed to your physical disc.
True. That's true. And that's, I think that's the inevitable future, is that these boxes will just become the same as like a Roku stick or, something like that,
clients,
where
Yeah.
they're assisting, the video poll locally, but it's actually running somewhere else. And that they've been doing that in Japan, like with Switch hardware. Switch, and like, you can Resident Evil 7 and I think Assassin's Creed Odyssey were games that were available on the Switch in Japan because it was streamed over their network and you would just play them through the device.
Mm-hmm.
Now, granted, the Japan's network infrastructure far exceeds ours.
Mm-hmm.
Like, they're on optical too. Like, it's nuts out there.
Yeah.
So like that is realistic given the geographic density of that country and their infrastructure. We don't have that here. And I know maybe some people listening are like, well, I'm in a rural area. The idea of streaming a game is just buffoonery because if I get an update, it takes 2 days to download and install. That's you might be losing some market there. But I don't know at what point you say, hey, we're moving forward, and if you're left behind, you're left behind.
It's gonna happen. That's absolutely
It's
gonna
gonna
happen.
happen, and it's gonna break Tom's heart. He's gonna cry. It's gonna be like a breakup.
No, I live on the East Coast in a densely populated area. I'm not concerned about my
No,
network
I'm talking
speeds.
about the tangibility. I'm talking about the tangibility
Yeah.
part of it.
Yeah.
I think you'll see. I don't think it's all gonna disappear at once. You'll see
No,
less and
it's
less
gonna
of
be
it till
le-
it's
yeah,
gone.
It's gonna definitely be. A
It'll
fizzle.
resurge. I mean, I feel like it has to, right? Like I've been buying more vinyl now than ever, and that's a platform that arguably.
Vinyl sales just outpaced CD sales for the first time.
No, I think this happened a long time ago because I read that too.
It was earlier this year.
Okay.
It was like it might have been second quarter 2020, but it was like the first time since like the 80s or something like that.
Which makes sense because who has a CD player, and the novelty of, I guess, vinyl is more, more prevalent than. I haven't bought a CD in probably
Long time.
half a decade.
It's the only
I was in
CDs.
college.
Yeah.
I was in college.
The only CDs I've bought are like blind packs where like a record label sends you like
Here's 3 things.
30 No, they
Oh.
send you like 25, 30 CDs for like $25, and they're just like, here's stuff that we have that nobody's bought in a while. And I found some really terrible bands that way.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah.
Oh, it's probably those like Lifetime, music that used to have the commercials where you could buy the CD set if it was like disco night, and it's just the compilation of disco songs. They used to have those infomercials.
I mean,
I
haven't
remember.
bought any from a disco record label, but
You
I
know
would
what I
love
mean.
25 disco CDs just to show up to my house right now.
Excuse
Would
me. I
love
had
that.
Pure Disco Volume 1, 2, and 3 ordered from, I guess,
Or,
Time
like,
Life or whatever the heck it
Now
was.
series.
hell are
Now
we
that's
doing
what
here?
I call music. You're
Oh,
just gonna
God.
get random ones. It's not even gonna be in order. It's just gonna be random ones.
I hope you get 25 Kids Bop CDs, and they're all Fireflies. All right, so
Yeah, Coco Melon too. Throw a Coco Melon in for good measure.
all right, so that's enough, I guess, next gen talk. Nintendo's not really part of that conversation right now, and I'm sure we'll see some pro level hardware from them in the near future. But they're going to hopefully continue to churn out some great games. We got the Zelda sequel coming out. We got the Zelda Warrior, whatever that thing, Calamity thing. What is it? I don't forget what it's called. Hyrule Warriors 2 is the sequel prequel. Pikmin 3 is on the way, and the games they announced the other day, a lot of them were for spring of 2021. So I have faith we're going to be playing some good stuff. My wallet's gotten a break. Is there anything that you're playing now that's new and exciting? You guys are frowning. 8 is frowning.
Why are you
I
frowning?
wish I were playing. I haven't had time. Like I wish that I could have, like on this hybrid model. I wish that like I could have had the opportunity to take a break and do stuff. But I find myself continually planning and grading and answering emails and messages from students and stuff. So maybe I'll catch a break once I feel like I'm in a better like routine. But I have not had an opportunity to game since the school year started.
Yeah, I feel like I've
It
been
breaks my
neglecting
heart.
my Animal Crossing Village
Oh my
for
god,
so
my
long.
Animal Crossing Village, they're probably gonna be like, what's wrong with you? Why haven't you been here? Were you mad at us?
You're going to have a lot of weeds to pull.
I don't mind that. That's fine.
Joe, are you playing anything new and exciting? And if you tell me Borderlands, so help me God.
You know it's coming.
I gave this month to video games. Like I was playing them and it was like, you know what? I'm going to finish off the month with video games and then go back to all of the other things that I was doing. So instead of trying to fit everything in at once, so I'm playing like 4 games right now.
Me too.
And bouncing between them. Obviously one's Borderlands. A couple of friends of mine and I decided that we want to revisit Left 4 Dead, which
Didn't
was
it just get an update?
yesterday, which we are probably going to play tomorrow. and
It's
I'm
like the
excited
first time
for
I got
that.
an update in
10 years.
10
yeah.
years.
And it's like, it's from Valve, but it's like fan content. It looks really good and I'm excited. I've been playing that, playing the new Tony Hawk, which is just so much fun.
It really is.
Outrageous fun. And then I took one out of my backlog and I'm playing one from my backlog.
Shocked.
Pokemon Alpha Sapphire.
Wow.
Yeah, which is way more fun than it should be, honestly. Like for a kind of later Pokemon game, which I haven't enjoyed quite as much, it's like it's right in the middle of where Pokemon got too far from its roots and it's not for me anymore so much. And still leans back to like there are parts of it that feel like the second generation ones, like Gold and Silver.
Okay.
Parts of it feel like that, but the graphics are way updated. but they didn't lean too heavily into the kind of cheesy stuff that they did in Sword and Shield, or even like Sun and Moon. It's still got a challenge to it. It's still a lot of fun, but there's a lot of quality of life fixes. Like
That was the remake of those games, right?
yes, yeah,
I might actually enjoy those because I did like X and Y. Like I thought the engine that it ran on was beautiful and it looked
Yeah.
great, but that's when it started for me to skew really like very kid heavy.
yeah. Like
Maybe
Sun and Moon are where I realized that Sun and Moon was just like a straight line. Those games, way linear,
Yeah.
and that's when I realized that the series may not be for me anymore. But rolling back a little bit to Sapphire, like again, little quality of life fixes. You can tiptoe through the grass, and you look ridiculous doing it, but you can slowly walk through the grass to either sneak up on Pokemon or sneak through without running into a battle.
Oh
so you
my
don't have to use a repel.
God.
You can just like if you're out of repels, all you need to do is just walk slowly, and it's a minor inconvenience, so you don't die. But
I
it's
would love that.
but it does do like the silly camera angles like Sword and Shield do in like certain areas. The camera will change to like a fixed camera
Yeah,
angle that
yeah.
like is kind of dramatic, but again, not cheesy. Like I'm only like 6 hours in, but it has been a lot of fun so far. I'm enjoying it more than I thought I would.
Cool. That's awesome. Yeah, I've been playing a plethora of things as well. I've been jumping on the Mario games in the Anniversary Collection. I'm almost like rushing through to get to the end, but I'm playing Ghost of Tsushima, which is a fantastic game. And normally I don't do well with open worlds, but this one's really interesting. And there's a lot of probably inaccurate historical stuff that has to do with like feudal Japan and samurai culture, which fascinates me. And even though I don't know a lot about it, like the actual history of it, I think the aesthetic for me is like really cool, and the game is gorgeous.
I've only heard good things
and
about
bloody and fun.
Bloody and fun.
Bloody and fun. So much
Bloody and
blood. And then I downloaded the other day, probably with a little bit of peer pressure from every media outlet that is just raving about the game Hades, that came out on Switch. It's a roguelike, but it's
by Supergiant, right?
Yes, it's by the people that put out Bastion and Transistor.
Two beautiful games.
Those games are fantastic. Bastion is glorious.
Yeah.
And this kind of has some crossover where there's like a narrator, but like the character addresses them. He's like, I can hear you, right? Which is really cool. And so I've only played for like an hour, but like I just want to go back to it. It's got that really addicting gameplay loop. But what's really cool with this, and it's akin to like Dead Cells, where you just you do runs and you get your weapons, and when you die, you start back over and you have access to get those weapons again by chance. Like this is a little bit more story driven. So like you'll die and characters will acknowledge like how you did, and there's some threads in that narrative that like will progress as you keep playing through the game. So like, and it's beautiful, and the soundtrack is just slays. So that's really cool. So I only played a little bit, but like I want to go play it now. And then Madden, I just got hooked back into Madden. Not the new one. I put my foot down. I've said I'm not buying the new Madden anymore because it's the same game. But that's a great
Smart, man.
I've got an hour before bed, and I need to play something that has a set time limit. So like that's always been a good one to go to because I can play a game in 45 minutes and not have to worry about stopping at a weird part or anything like that. And in the script, it still says Mike is playing his butt, so we're gonna go on that presumption.
Good for him. I'm happy for him.
Yeah. And he's playing Mario. He could have come on and joined us for that Mario conversation, but that's okay. We're going to wrap up now, as I don't have anything left on the docket, and I know we talked our ears off, or your ears off, about a ton of stuff. And if you've made it this far into the show, thank you, as always. And if you're a frequent visitor and listener and watcher of our stuff, extra special thank you. And if you're not, we hope that we brought you on board for the long haul. Please make sure you check out our other offerings on level30games.com. That's not a thing.
That is
on
not
our
a thing.
on our YouTube channel.
I was like, wait, did
Make
something
that up.
happen and I didn't? Did I not get the memo? Did you not include me on the text?
No, I think I had a domain at one point, but it's lapsed.
That
so.
redirects to our other website.
Actually, I think it redirects. No, I think Level 30 Games redirects to YouTube. I might be wrong.
That's a good idea.
Type it in. What's going to happen? Eventually, you'll get like a domain does not exist. I should know that, though. Check out our Instagram for some behind-the-scenes pictures and stuff as well. And game on. Joe, Ada, thank you for being here today.
So much. Yes.
Thanks, guys.
And we'll catch you in the next episode. See y'all later.
Bye, guys.
Bye.